Good morning and welcome to Sunrise. I am Alero Edu.
I'm Ayomakinde. Good morning and welcome. And if you look at your screen, you'll see that we're both wearing the colors of the stage, back stage. You know, on the other side, you can see the color of what I'm wearing, and you can see that she's wearing the color right behind her. So you know, so just wanted to point that out. Yes, I've had my cocoa this morning. That's fine.
Yeah. Most certainly you've had your cocoa this morning. Yes. So how was your week, guys? Of course, Nigeria being what it is, dynamic, things are happening.
Yeah.
Politics is moving, you know.
I'd like to start on a good note.
Okay.
The girls.
Ah, yes,
Birmingham.
The girls. You know, during that relay race, when it got to the third leg, Alero Edu was on her feet. And she was screaming and jumping and screaming.
You weren't the only one.
Oh, my.
Should I tell you who else?
Goodness.
The commentator must have been standing up, either internally or externally.
Oh,
just shouting Nigeria.
Relay, Nigeria, come on. Girls, you did us proud. Go, girls, go, girls. Toby, special shout out to you. The first leg, you did something unbelievable. You got it all rolling. You got it all rolling.
It was very beautiful. It was very beautiful. It was really beautiful. And to think that most of the gold that we got all came from women.
The women. Well, I said so last week, but you were up in arms, ready to fight. It's Nigeria.
I said to think. So giving women chance now is not a problem.
We are thinking, no.
Wait, I'm just asking. So giving women a chance now is not a problem.
No, it's just the plain. You just stated the plain fact. But as you say.
So giving women a chance now is not a problem. So that's not they talk. If you become president,
it is all under the green flag.
Better.
It's cool. It's cool. It's good. It's good.
Just saying.
It's good. It's good. Nigeria. It was Nigeria, and we came 7th, in spite of the fact that we didn't take part in many events. You know, these games got me thinking about, hey, what happened to our Ijaw boys and girls? They can swim like fish. Why are they not taking part in swimming and diving and all that?
We had a conversation with the media representative of the team.
Yeah.
Team Nigeria to Birmingham. And one of the things that he said was, look, we decided to go with the strongest teams that we could muster for the areas where we had the strongest advantage.
Yeah.
And that's why we featured in those games mostly. And clearly it largely paid off. That, I mean, you know. But one thing that is also interesting is that not many people knew they were leaving Nigeria for the games.
Yeah. I know what you mean. I know what you mean. So they would have gone not thinking that they had the kind of support which they actually had.
Exactly.
And, and that would have actually boosted their morale more.
Most certainly.
Yes.
And to also think that one of the things that we heard from Ida Peter's side yesterday, saying one of the things that he knew happened that gave these athletes the edge is that they had an Adopt a Child program initiated by the Minister of Sports. And that's so some states adopted one athlete or two athletes here and there, and I think that's part of the case in point was made especially of Esebrume, which state government adopted her, and I think those things really helped. Can we just have more of that?
Yes, can we have more of that?
Not just for pockets of sports.
I was just thinking about not many people knew that they were going, and I thought maybe if we had been told, many would have just, they're going to waste money again. They won't bring back anything. You know, that kind of attitude.
Well, true.
Well, they surprised everybody. I'm sure some of them even surprised themselves.
Absolutely.
I mean, Toby had come forth in Oregon a week or 10 days before.
Yeah.
And then to come and then break the record.
Is that breaking record or
Oh,
shattering?
no, no, no. She broke the record at the Eugene Games. It was the athletics meet before that she had come fourth. So to come from fourth to holding a world record, I mean, you can see how much work went into that. Well done, Toby.
There's always that can-do spirit that we talk about, you know, for the Nigerian wherever spirit. We find ourselves. That happens.
I keep saying, Toby, well done, everybody. Everyone on that team. Well done for bringing laurels back. Absolutely. In spite of all that we're going through in this country, the inflation, the this, the that, you know.
We need a little bit of good news from time to time.
A bright spark somewhere.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Thank you, the team that went to the Commonwealth Games. Thank you for bringing a spark into our lives.
Absolutely. So that says there are things we can do. So we should be able...
If we set our minds to it.
Yes, not just our minds, our hearts and everything. Look at the national pledge. To serve Nigeria with all my strength. That's the motto. Whether or not we're living by it is another thing altogether. I mean, for instance, we're talking about fuel now. I'm looking at a report, a press release from the Ministry of Petroleum Resources that was released by the ministry 19th November 2020. And part of that, the MOU is titled Nigeria and Niger Republic signed MOU on petroleum products, transportation, storage as NNPC pledges to support SONIDEP on capacity building. The Minister of State for Petroleum Resources was quoted as saying, and I quote, "This is a major step forward." Well, it's like saying, okay, let me just quote it. "This is a major step forward. Niger Republic has some excess products which need to be evacuated. Nigeria has the market for these products. Therefore, this is going to be a win-win relation for both countries." So when the news, you know, was flying around, you know, in the course of the week that Nigeria is going to be importing
finished products
from the Niger Republic, you're wondering, it's old news.
Well, some would say, come on, guys, it's disheartening. It's disheartening news. You are producing the crude, and you have to go to Niger to bring in finished goods. Why don't you just refine your products yourself?
Well, it's a question that needs answering.
Like they say, Asko.
But it's a question that needs answering. But new thinking will help us go far. And that is why it's exciting when we talk about young people coming up with novel, amazing ideas. You know, heard the story of that young man that produced a carbon emission drone to detect hideouts of kidnappers all over the nation?
Yeah.
Yeah. What's
that? No, nothing.
No, it's just a human being, just one human being in Ibadan. And he has an academy training people to do that.
Yes, and there's one human being up in Maiduguri somewhere who is converting petrol cars to electric cars.
So also in Ibadan. And in Lagos and, you know, here and there.
There's one in Lagos now?
Oh, the University of Lagos has one.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, I think I'll be hopping along there in no time at all.
So it's in that spirit that I want to say Happy International Youth Day. It was yesterday. And the theme for the day yesterday was intergenerational capacity, intergenerational solidarity or something like that, creating a world for all, you know, stuff like that. So young people have what it takes. All we have to do is support them. All we have to do is create the enabling environment for them to do all that they need to do.
They can't ask for more. They can't ask for more. And just so you know that hospital that was advocating a reduction in medical tourism?
Yeah.
Yes, I was actually there, and it is true. 5K, just like the doctor said.
Well, I guess I'm next. Really?
Yes. But you remember I said to him, I said, this must be propaganda.
It's a hospital. So it will still be smelling like a hospital environment, like a hospital.
If it smells like a hospital,
yeah,
It is a hospital.
Oh, yeah, of course. You know, want to know what someone said about that hospital? Person said, oh, it's not a hospital. It's just a hotel where they treat people.
Oh, okay. All right. Yes, one does get that feeling.
Oh, really?
One does get that feeling. The whole place is so clinically clean.
Oh, really?
Ah,
well, it's a clinic.
spot.
So it's clinically clean.
Well, it's supposed to be. Oh, yes. The menu.
Okay. In the spirit of the young people that we talked about, we're starting with that today, creating Nigeria for all. Gone are those days of youth are the leaders of tomorrow. It's now.
It is now. They should be leading now, not tomorrow. Then, the Nigeria Broadcasting Awards. What are those about? Well, move over, Media Merit Award.
Really? Okay. Hopefully we'll be looking at the MTN NAIMA Oligosynthesis machine update as well.
And then we'll have our lifestyle segment. And guess what? Today we're looking at skincare. Ooh, that's a big one.
Your skincare routine. Can hear a lot without hearing anything. And the artist of the week is...
Is a he.
You're sure?
Is a he.
Is a
yes.
he.
Is a he.
It is a he.
He is a he.
Oh, okay. He is a he. Okay. Just want to be sure.
He is a he. The he with whom we shall close the program today.
Okay. And with that, we say welcome to Sunrise, and we're back right after now to begin to take the issues as they come. Stay with us. Thank you for staying with us. One nation, great people. Talking about creating Nigeria for all. You know, all persons between the ages of 15 and 24, we call them youths, right? According to statistics, half of the people on this planet, Earth, this universe, not the multiverses, this one, are 30 or younger. And this is they're expected to reach about 57% by the end of the SDGs 2030. So every year, International Youth Day is observed on August 12th. That was yesterday. If it was your birthday as well, happy birthday. Now, the purpose of this day is to draw attention to a given set of cultural and legal issues surrounding youngsters. It also aims to raise awareness about the challenges and hardships faced by young people around the world, and Nigeria no less. Nigeria made room for youth representation in governance before independence. Recent decades have seen what you would call a tectonic shift from that reality. So how does this have anything to do with us this morning? Let's have a conversation with three gentlemen joining us today. Kingsley Obamegbulem is founder of the Talent Hub, and he is in the business of youth development. Thank you for joining us this morning.
Thanks so much.
We also have a development consultant who is also a youth advocate, Oludari Akinlaja. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Nice to be here, sir.
And we will be having a third person join us virtually, and when he does join, we will introduce him to you. Well, let me begin with you, Mr. Akinlaja. Talking about creating Nigeria for all, we've heard that saying. I've heard it since I was in primary school. Youths are the leaders of tomorrow. In fact, I remember a song by Tosin Jegede. Parents, listen to your children. We are the leaders of tomorrow. I think that was in the 80s.
Well, it seems that tomorrow never came, right?
So, how true is that? Let me begin from there.
Well, I suspect, because these days you always have to put disclaimers in every statement so you are not quoted with some level of subjectivity. So I suspect the intention was to speak about the capacity of young people doing great things in the future with respect to, okay, you are 16 now. When you're 21, You might have graduated from the university when you were 24. You know, that, I'm sure that was the intention behind the statement, meaning sometime in the future, adding certain number of years to your years, you can't be doing something great with your life. You can't be. So I'm sure it was, and of course the song said children. Okay, so maybe she was singing to 6, 7, 8-year-olds
at the time.
At the time, okay, telling them, okay, there's a potential. When you're 21, you can become a doctor. When you're 24, you can become a lawyer. So, I guess in that context, the song was true, or the description was true. But just like any good thing or anything, some people will also take that and mean it's not your time. We are the one there. Wait till later. Even if you have the capacity, even if you have the competence, you know, even if you have the strength, but I'm sure that's what she meant. But of course, like every environment, every community, especially the African one, where we are very big on age, very big on respect, we're very good, you know. So people took advantage of that to say, wait, we're not done taking advantage of this environment.
But Kingsley, young people are doing great things around this country every day, especially in the area of technology. Why is it that we find it so difficult to allow them in positions of leadership, as in leading the country?
Yeah, I'm happy you said that, because I was going to straight your question properly, because political leadership is where we haven't created enough space for young people.
That's exactly what my question is asking.
Yeah, but if you look around, every country that has been developed were actually developed by their youth. I mean, cast your mind back. Everything that we celebrate today were either developed by young people, founded by young people, and to a large extent sustained by young people. The problem we have here is we are late starters, whether in politics, whether in sports, whether even in entertainment, whatever. We start late, and by the time we peak, is also late. Late in the sense that we're peaking, you know, the average superstar.
We're peaking in old age.
I wanted to ask,
superstar.
My apologies. The question I wanted to ask you as a follow-up to the response of Mr. Akinlaja, which probably, you know, is another way of asking the same questions he asked is, while it is true that there was an intention to build the youth into that leadership tomorrow,
yes,
as the philosophy of that song says, do you think there was a plan or an intention, a deliberate intention, or any intention at all, to create structures for building the leaders of tomorrow as far back as then?
Well, if you look at the results and the outcomes we have today, the answer is an emphatic no. Now, look at the number of young people that are not within the formal system. When I mean formal system, I'm referring to sports, I'm referring to entertainment, I'm referring to education. Now, the areas where you have young people playing active role are the areas where they don't require approval to function. You get, so these are freelance areas where you can wake up tomorrow and say, I want to be a rap artist. And hey, you're rapping. And
there is no school of rap.
There is no you get now. And then you have, to a large extent, sports. But you see, within the sports environment, there is some gatekeeping. You can be running and you're the fastest runner. As a matter of fact, this morning, you know, I took my daughter trains in Agege Stadium, so I take her there every week. And her coach told me that Kenya is building a lot of outlets in javelin. And you know, the Maasais in Kenya, they hunt wild animals with spears.
Yes.
that, sports science allows you to understand the comparative advantage within your environment and how you can leverage on that in sports and other areas. So the Maasais, javelin is something Kenya is going to be developing. So my point is, wherever you have strict gatekeeping, young people don't thrive there.
And why is that?
Because of bureaucracy and every other thing that is, quote and unquote, that is heavily Nigerian, that draws us back.
They do not want to be boxed in.
Yes.
But
sorry, Ewa.
freedom. Freedom.
Yes.
Right?
But look at areas where you can wake up tomorrow and become a star. I mean, you can wake up this morning and the next day you are a star. See how young people are thriving there.
While I get that, the question that I want to ask you, Mr. Adelaja, is that to say that the establishment, I'm using that generically now.
The bane of youth development.
Okay, before we take it, let's quickly, bring on our third guest, who is joining us virtually from Abuja. Engineer Mohammed Onotu is founder Productive Youth Network and also founder Read to Rise. Thanks for joining us this morning. Truly appreciate your time.
Morning.
Okay. Let me begin with you as well. I mean, you've heard us, raise issues with our guests in the studio. Youths are the leaders of tomorrow. Can you give us that date?
When is that tomorrow coming?
It's becoming more of an uncertainty. I think if we also look at the body language, we still have a significant level of hope if all the right foundation is being kept appropriately.
Say that really there is, because the question that I was going to ask Mr. Akinlaja, I could just as well ask you, if you've been listening, I believe you've been following the conversation, would you say that there are structures deliberately prepared by the establishment to prepare young people for the leadership of tomorrow as promised many decades ago?
It's quite a tricky one. Because if we are to be specific 100%, there's a huge level of failure structure-wise. Then on the other side, because it goes hand in hand, as you have the system functioning, you also have the individuals that make up the bunch of youths. So when you look at the structure, it's supposed to create a level of platform in which the sustainability and the growth of the youth can thrive. But unfortunately, what we currently have in the state is that the structure, it might not necessarily be deliberate, but when you have a structure that is not vision driven, that does not care about what the future holds, but rather what is obtainable in the present, there is the tendency of having a faulty foundation, which I think is one of the things that the youth have actually been failed, because the structures have not been strategically prepared or kept on ground to foster the growth of an average Nigerian youth.
Well, isn't that to say that when you say it looks like there isn't vision or structures that are not vision driven, that would put at the foot of government, wouldn't you say? Because there are those who would say, hey, as Mr. Obomegbelem said here a while ago, spheres where there are no controls, so to speak. A young man can just install Adobe Audition or SoundForge or Cubase on his laptop. He gets behind a microphone, sings to a beat, he becomes a star. He has a phone, he can, get a camera here and there, use his camera phone, produce a skit, he becomes a star. That's the story of one of Nigeria's comedians now, Wole Arole. All he did was use his phone. And, he became, widely known. So with those potential, those possibilities, I mean, I'm talking about the menial ones now, just in entertainment. I'm not going to technology. I'm not going to sports now. Is that to say that government isn't seeing the opportunities that these young people have to do things on their own without necessarily waiting? I mean, isn't it an opportunity that government can harvest?
It's a tricky one, men would suffer because of lack of vision. You know, sometimes you assume that some of our leaders have the technical know-how, the foresight to recognize some of these opportunities. But what is apparent is what you don't have, you can literally give. So primarily, all our suffering emanates from competence deficiency. So what we need to do is to review those that we elect into leadership positions. You know, like I always say, is that unjust leadership definitely destroys generations. Then what is much more a greater threat is the followership that is devoid of sound intellect and manners. So when you have these two not aligning together, there's a tendency of having inconsistency in the growth chain. So what I think needs to be done, you know, we know what is apparent is that for any generation to thrive, there is a need for good leadership, and good leadership comes with foresight, and foresight comes with competence. You see, everything, none can function without the other. So the first is for us to review what are the competences that we need, that we require for us in electing every leadership position that we aspire to vote for. So this is the fundamentals that we need to take into consideration in order to take us to the first chain of visionary leadership that translates into recognizing opportunities across board for the common man. Regardless, you don't need to know anyone to be able to try. All you need to do is to have the competence, have the tendency to be able to grow, and also, most importantly, having a structure in the environment or in the society to help in facilitating the growth.
Mr. Kalaja, let's segue into another angle, unless you have one or two things to say to what
I was just listening in on the political leadership part of it, and strangely, if you go to the offices of average politicians today, look at the people running the systems. Most of them are young people. The people telling them,
these assistants,
could be aspirants, the special assistants, ones telling them how to think, preparing their documentations, telling them what their aids, what bills to push, what things to. So young people, I think that we also need to look at the balance of it. I think that young people, knowingly or unknowingly, have found their way into certain quarters. Either by the sheer providence, you know, people not wanting them, but some way they find that, you know what, we can't do this thing without these people. It has become apparent they must be on this thing, because I don't know what's happening in fintech, I don't know what's happening in economy. These guys know what's happening from their phones. So
and that's where that's where the money is.
If we don't bring them in here, we're just joking. So whether by what's happening in the environment or by providence, young people are finding their way into that space. And we must also be careful drawing total conclusions. Even in America, look at the Senate and the House of Reps. I'm just trying to say there is a let's see a bit of silver lining in all of this. Young people, more can be done based on our population, our number, and the human capacity that we have. More can be done. But I think that young people have said to themselves, you know what? We don't care who those gatekeepers are.
Look at the numbers, though. The numbers, the number of those within these spaces. Conversely, with the numbers of those who are not. The social media will give you an idea of what they... So that leads me to ask you, do you think that we are all, both those who are within and those who are without, the elders and everyone, do you think we are all conscious of the realities of young people who do not have so much advantage?
They know. In fact, that's why you see a lot of government officials now, state governments, doing a lot of entrepreneurship, SME. It's not sufficient, but they are aware. Okay, so they're trying to repaint the buildings and not take care of the foundation, obviously. Okay, but they are aware of.
So you hit it.
Of the chaos.
So what's the foundation?
Now, this is the foundation. The foundation is education. First of all, look at strike. Students have been at home for. Somebody sent me a message 2 days ago. I'm like, what are we going to do about this? Young people are now doing POS operators.
God.
Because they can. I'm like, he said, yes, it's chaotic.
Shameful.
Okay, so that's where the foundation is. How are young people educated? How are they trained?
That's the reason I asked that question, Mr. Obom Egbulem. Are we thinking about young people? That foundation of education is the reason I asked the question. Are we really thinking about the young people? Are we preparing them for that leadership? I've scouted, I've flipped through the pages of the National Education Policy. I am looking at the objectives, not a word of technology, and not anything, in my opinion, I could be wrong, nothing seemingly futuristic. So it leads me to ask the question again, are we thinking about preparing these young people really for the leadership we want them to take?
Well, I don't want to say yes or no, but what we have is what I call it's tokenism. You could see that this is not well thought out, and a lot of people, what they do for votes. I mean, there's a state that is launching something they call it youth policy. I don't want to mention names. You could tell that this is about votes, but let's look at a concept of leading from the back. I don't want us to blame government in all of, because we may just spend the whole day doing that and we won't get out anything. So, leading from the back. Who is providing some parallel thinking? Who is providing, alternative narrative that could help us move forward? You get it? Now, if you know and you play within the private sector, you understand the energy, the resources that is resident within the youth community. What are you doing as an organization? Do you have a policy that encourages scholarship? Do you have a policy that encourages capacity development internship? There are companies that are run by guys who have been privileged, either through the family they come from, as a result of the family they come from, or they benefited from government largesse and stuff, and now they are standing. Can you, as a CEO, can you come up with a policy that allows your company to engage 20 kids on internship? That is youth development. That is filling the gap. Can you sponsor an athletics competition that brings together 2,000 young people every year? That is youth development.
You've just touched a raw nerve there. Because an oil company used to do that.
Good.
And it was pushed into oblivion from what we hear.
Now, you see, let's throw up some figures here. Jamaica. Everybody's talking about Jamaica. Jamaica organizes a secondary school sports competition that brings in close to 30,000 athletes nationally every year. The attendance is huge. It's like the Super Eagles going to play, and that's the kind of followership it enjoys. So the question is, why won't such a country be reaping the fruits today? So my take is, if the government is not, quote unquote, hasn't got the vision, even though we have the National Youth Policy, we have the National Youth Commission, we have the National Sports for all of that. What can individuals do who actually know? Do you know when Toby Amuson break the Amuson when she broke the goal and when she broke that record, that was a guy I know so well. He runs an organization where they have a policy, they don't accept anybody who's posted there on National Youth Service. They don't accept people, kids who want to do their internship. And he was congratulating Toby. And I said, dude, this is hypocrisy. You don't accept kids who come in for internship and young people who come for NYC. He said, well, we've gotten our fingers burnt. No, that's not the way to go about it. You can create a system where when these people come in, they live better. You get it? That is youth development from a personal perspective. You run a church, you run a mosque, you run whatever it is. Do you have a vision for the young people in your system? So we can't, because there's a way we develop ourselves from the back door. The government will have no choice
I agree.
than to start to listen to us.
Yeah. Mr. Noto, Mr. Hilaja mentioned entrepreneurship. I want to bring in again, Ayo has already done, the issue of the education which we are imparting to our children. When I went to university, the belief was that we were being trained for the civil service. We didn't, I can say, you know, without fear of contradiction, that we were not trained
For the real world.
I was skewed towards entrepreneurship at all. We were trained to beg to apply. So is that education changing in any way these days so that the children are actually taught how to become entrepreneurs and not how to beg to apply when they finish school?
If we were to look at the statistics of the transition in the educational system out of school children in the last 1 year, it becomes extremely worrisome. From 10.5 million in last year, currently UNICEF states that it's currently 18.5 million out of school children, which becomes extremely worrisome. So if you look at the first, the relevant point we've been discussed now is the education. So we need to review the concept of our educational system. So what does this translate into? The first stage of the development of the child should be, the emphasis should be based on character development. If you look at what is obtainable in most schools in the UK, at grade 1 to grade 6 level, there's usually a general gift or reward being given to best in kindness. What does this translate into? It gives the development in the child the sense of empathy, the sense of patriotism. So as the child grows up, the next phase, if you're reviewing our educational system, we take it in different phases. The first phase should be for the character development of the child, which gives the child a sense of empathy. If you look at what is obtainable across the country, there's a level of doubt, a level of insecurity. The sense of empathy among the citizens, it's no longer there because we have failed, our educational system have failed in imbibing these values into the growing child. So when it comes to this space, the home and the state plays significant role. So the second phase of the educational development now should go into the talent recognition of the child. As every child is growing, some would show a level of interest in education, in the academia, while some would show interest in sport otherwise. So the state should give a significant level of recognition to.
Oh dear. But I'm sure that we'll get him back. Yeah. Okay, go ahead.
If you see the background he's setting there, it tells you that education is not about schools.
No.
But when we talk about education here, everybody focuses on school.
Academic education.
So what we're doing here is education. What they're doing at Gigi Stadium is education. Talent management is one area that we have simply left. If you want to win gold in the next Olympics, for instance, do you have enough coaches?
Because we're running out of time, let me ask this question. Sorry, Mr. Akimajan. He mentioned, Engineer Onotu mentioned something about the family, the home, having a crucial role to play in all this matter.
Yep.
Okay, I understand that Engineer Onotu is back. I'll come back to you. You've taken us on a trajectory, and I'd like to follow it for a bit. Where is the place of culture here? Now, because that's where that's the bedrock of everything. Cultures, tradition, ways of the people and all those things, because the primary school child is coming from that base. And that's the guy, that's the fellow that Tosin Jegede sang "We Are the Leaders of Tomorrow" for many years ago. Now, the Yoruba child, the Southeastern child, the Northern child that Engineer Onoto is joining us, if you can hazard for us some perspectives about today's young person, what they think about, how they think, because most of the time when we're having these conversations down south, most people don't understand the mindset of what goes on in the north. The intention of the National Youth Service Corps, I'm not sure, has been able to galvanize that, orientation. So give us some perspectives of the understanding that people have or do not have about the Southeasterner, about the Southwesterner, and about the Northerner, Engineer Onoto. Let's start with you, Mr. Akinlaja.
Okay, so I actually served in Northern Nigeria.
Oh, wonderful.
And at the point I knew I was going to teach, that I just knew I would do something around teaching, was there was a project going on where I served, and we were asked to go and teach farmers computer appreciation. And I entered the class, and my boss was like, let me see how you're going to teach these people tall order computer, how to use the Microsoft Word. When I was done, after 2 weeks or 3 weeks, he gave me 2 bars of yam as a gift. I was like, whoa, we liked. You taught us well.
Farmers.
Yes, you taught us well. We enjoyed. Yes, they kept them computer and they learned how to use it. What that made me understand is we are too quick to judge what we think a person wants, can do, and cannot do. That's just like the South, how we look at they don't want to go to school. Not really. It's all about how a person sees you about to make them nobody doesn't want to be a better person. That's the lies they've always told us. Oh, don't engage them. They're not interested. That's not true. That's not correct. If you create a path that where I am today, I'm not going to have to scavenge for food. I'll be able to feed myself and feed 12 others. I will refuse that. Okay? That's also some form of education. Mind orientation. Control. It's a control mechanism to say, oh, this is what you can and this is what you cannot do. Okay? And he spoke about education. I'm very passionate about education. And
I know the three of you are passionate about education.
It's strange that, let me use states in the Southwest, that primary school education for public schools are run by a local government. How can you let out early child education and not pay attention to it? If you go to certain states, the public primary schools are more dilapidated than the secondary schools. What does that tell you? Because of whose hands early child education is in.
I mean, that's the biggest tragedy.
How can you let out or leave such crucial years? In fact, I feel that's where more investment by government.
The challenge there, Mr. Akinlaja, is it was not always like that. The local government system today, many say, is not funded, is not encouraged. Back in time, I've cited this example to Alero many times, that when the environmental officers went to the houses, we don't have them anymore. Yes, the education officers who don't go to schools, someone is coming to your father's house with a cane. In fact, I think recently I heard someone say, if a child does not go to school, the father will go to jail. So if perhaps that's the challenge, the funding of the local government system. Anyway, you've spoken to that. We're running out of time. Yes, Dr. Let me dash you title today. Same thing, culture from the Southeast, or perceptions and all of that.
I talked about the strength, the peculiarity of each place and how that can be harnessed. So it becomes a comparative advantage. Now, within the Southeast, I don't have a grip of the South, but what I know very well is that enterprise is something that runs in the blood of the average Southeasterner. Ironically, we're all, I don't know, was that deliberate? Anyway, so now, if you are not running a business per se, you're not into micro financing, you should be in school. And there are guys who've been able to combine both. They went to school and then they went into trading. And then the apprenticeship system, which is age-long, is still there. Just that, because young people still are beginning to run away from, like I said, choky gatekeeping that makes it difficult for them to give expression to whatever they carry. I think we should be able to relax that system in a way that you reduce the number of years you spend serving your orga, so to speak. So why should you spend 8 years? So the man, you join the man at 16 and you spend 8 years. That is about
24, 25. Yeah.
You get it. Why don't we make it 4 or 5 so that by the time his mate is coming out of university, he's done learning.
Yeah, but this apprenticeship is not formal. Exactly. It depends on the individual, how long you spend under apprenticeship.
How quickly you can learn.
Yes.
It is not formal, but it has become institutionalized. So mothers take their children to this people.
So an
MOU is signed. Yes.
Oh, really?
Yes. You don't just, no. You enter into an understanding that is reading, some in black and white, some based on cola nuts, palm wine, and yes.
And Kingsley, because of this apprenticeship system, which has thrived over the years in the Southeast, a lot of young people didn't want to go to school. But we learned that trend was reversing. They would go to school first and then go into business. So how is that working out now?
But there's something not everybody, and I want to say this so I don't have to deny it. Disclaimer.
Disclaimer again.
You know, when the season of denial, not everybody need to go past early childhood education, formally. Any early childhood, in other words.
Which is what, SS3?
No, which is primary and
primary, nursery,
and
primary 6.
Early secondary.
Yes.
Okay, JS3.
Primary and early secondary.
Yeah.
Once you're done and you feel, come on, I don't have the aptitude to go beyond this point.
Go learn a trade.
Yeah, rather than attrition. You know, attrition is you drop out of school and you start to hustle. But this, you need not hustle.
How you discover the person who is who needs to transit? That's another conversation.
No, it's very simple. The guy will tell you, I don't tire. And most times, it's a function of the background. You know, if
Mr.
the background is poor, can't go beyond.
One of the things that you need to get. The stigmatization. Me, I go to school. You didn't go. You know how these things are. Guys, you know how these things are. But anyway, let me ask Engineer Onotu. So give us your perspective as well, perhaps things that, why are you smiling? You're smiling. Anyway, give us your understanding or perception that people need to doctor about this whole conversation we're having around cultural influence from the north to the south and stuff like that, especially from your perspective as a northerner.
Yes, there's a myth I want to debunk. You see, one fundamental of being a northerner, ideally, education is a top priority at any stage, you know, because fundamentally, the first phase of the development of any average northerner is supposed to be on the part of seeking knowledge. So knowledge becomes the top priority. That's first phase. Let me give you an example. Recently, I was at a Fulani settlement, you know, somewhere within Abuja. They've been there for the last 80 years. And gradually development started moving them out of their space. And currently they occupy a very, very small, insignificant mass of the land because development has taken hold of the entire area. So I went there with a foundation, and the foundation, what they do is that they create a mini educational system for the young Fulani boys. So what I could recognize was the eagerness of these young boys, of these young Fulani boys. They were so eager to learn. While I was there, the thing that hit me the most was the failure of the state. You see, the willingness to learn might be there, if there is no structure to enhance the development, it becomes a problem. So what I did was to tell them, I gave them a level of hope that, you see, what the notion that almost everyone have outside those that know what an average Fulani man is banditry or herdsmen or whatsoever. So I gave them the sense of hope that, you know, what I've seen so far is inspirational. So I told them that, okay, I need just 20 names that we're going to try and create a level of empowerment scheme for 20 out of the list. To my surprise, yesterday, I got over 200 names. What does this mean? That means there is willingness amongst this group to learn. And now the system, technically or strategically, has failed them. You see, imagine the level of injustice being done to them. They've occupied the land for the last 80 years, and gradually they have been chased out of their land. So this can even prompt things that ideally they wouldn't want to do. So I think in line with this, the first thing we need to get into our level of understanding is, being a northerner, the number one thing that is key, that is fundamental, is seeking knowledge. So we should not think that it's culturally, if you're from the north, you shouldn't be educated. No, it is mandatory, you know, and it is the foundation that every development relies on. Education gives hope to any nation. So this is my own view from the north, and I think we need to, you know, have a level of evaluation.
I hope that conversation, that understanding is communicated to the, what's the word we use? Top echelon in the north. We wanted to quickly, because I saw you were confirming what he was saying.
Yes, I said it, that you can't tell a person what a person can and cannot do because of your own interests.
Yes.
Okay, don't tell us they don't want. That's not correct.
Conviction.
Yes, you do. I'm going to just say this. I tell people, those who enjoy the way Nigeria is structured understand Nigeria more than those who want to change Nigeria. So they thrive on our black spots. They thrive on our ignorance of certain happenings. They thrive on our ignorance of the things that want to happen. Well, people who in the south who have not traveled to the north have notions of the north. You have to go there. You have to engage them. Yeah. Well, so I think more enlightenment about how we are positioned as a people.
Isn't that what the National Youth Service was all about?
Well, maybe that's the next thing to inspect some of the time going forward. We have to thank you, gentlemen, for being a part of our conversation this morning. It was International Youth Day yesterday. Let's take this message forward and know that at the end of the day, youths are not. This is the tomorrow we spoke about yesterday. Oludare Akinlaja, development consultant, thank you so much for your time this morning. I truly appreciate your perspectives. Kingsley Obom-Ebulem, founder at the Talent Hub, again, thank you for your time. As well as engineer Mohammed Onotu, MNSE, thank you so much for being a part of our conversation this morning and the shocking discovery he's just giving us. Truly appreciate it. So many people may not know that. And that's how we create Nigeria for all. We're back after now to talk about something else. About us this time. Stay with us.
I saw you looking at him, but you're the one I'm feeling. I'm looking at you 4 times in a row.
Chike just does things to people when he sings. Well done, boy. One of those Nigerians, you know, Nigerian youth doing things in their little corners, affecting people's lives.
If we had the P-Man Awards, I wonder how many awards he would have won by now.
Oh, dear.
But we don't have the P-Man Awards.
Talking about awards, where we are about to talk about our own awards, the Nigeria Broadcasting Awards. Well, TNBA. These awards seek to recognize and celebrate broadcasters just like they do in other professions. In fact, it's come too late, hasn't it? TNBA is the brainchild of Mr. John Ugbe, Chairman, Broadcasting Organizations of Nigeria, who, as part of his campaign promises, stated the need for the recognition of broadcast professionals. It is aimed at elevating broadcasting standards by motivating broadcasters to strive harder and excel more. I mean, you know that these days you tune a radio station, you listen to a presenter. Today he has an American accent, tomorrow it's changed to a British accent, and the third day you listen to him, you don't even know what kind of accent he has.
Maybe it's New Zealand.
So these awards are meant to improve those standards so that when you listen to a radio station, you can identify that this radio station meets all the standards as prescribed by the broadcasting organizations, and broadcasting is done in our country the way it is supposed to be done.
Absolutely.
Up there. Well, I'm not a member of that committee. We have two members here this morning who are going to tell us more about these awards. I'd like to welcome Mr. Guy Mora-Bruce, who's chairman, TNBA Steering Committee. Good morning.
Good morning, Larry. How
Thank
are
you
you?
for coming.
Thank you.
We also have Mr. Jenkins, according to my partner, Mr. Jenkins Alamona. His name is actually Jenkins. And he is the managing director and CEO of Strategic Outcomes Limited, and they are communications consultants to TNBA and is a former editor of the news magazine. Good morning.
Thank you very much.
And thank you very much for coming.
Yeah.
Yes. Now, where do I start? There's so much to talk about, Guy. You are the chairman of this steering committee. So would I be right to say that the buck stops at your table?
No, it stops on John's table, not my table. John Ugbe.
John Ugbe.
That's bond chairman.
But
however, in this committee.
Okay. Yeah, but it depends on what the committee tells them, right?
Yeah, got you.
Good.
Got you.
So that's where you come in. There's broadcasting, there's television, there's radio.
It's online.
Online.
Mm-hmm.
Why is it the regulated platforms?
Oh, okay.
So just radio and television then?
Radio, TV for the most part. If it's regulated, that's where we come in.
Okay.
If it's unregulated, like Instagram, that could be an issue because people sit in the bedrooms, broadcast things that don't make sense, and then we applaud them, but they're telling us stories that don't make sense.
Interesting. But I thought there was a proposal or consideration of the Minister of Information and Culture recently that the
run of
digital broadcasting will also be regulated. It's not in the works yet? No, it's probably that's Ministry of Information.
Okay.
But in terms of NBC,
okay,
the governing body NBC regulates radio and television.
Okay,
that's all I know.
All right.
I don't think it's been passed yet. It's been
how many
proposed.
categories are there, and how does one put forward a work to be judged?
Well, first of all, Nigerian broadcasting's the TNBA is going to hold in November, right? And we're looking at the spectrum of all broadcasters in the country, radio stations, TV stations, both all privately owned, state-owned, and federally owned. They're all part of the umbrella bond. And we have different categories. I think Jenkins has a list of all the categories there. But I know we have like best radio, best TV, best presenter, best on-air personality, best documentary in
English,
and indigenous language. There are quite a number of awards to be given out, but the most important thing is they must abide by the laws of the country and the regulations that guide broadcasters, the ethics of broadcasting. So if we don't have the ethics of broadcasting, you cannot be part of the awards.
Okay. Which raises the next question. My apologies, Alero. There are those who would say, other than the NBC code, which is especially directed at broadcast organizations, there isn't particularly, rather, let me ask it as a question. Is there a book, a textbook for broadcast practitioners? Like, I mean, lawyers have their codes and stuff like that. Doctors have certain codes, and they're very proud of the Hippocratic Code, by the way, and all of that. So, is there such a thing that broadcast practitioners can measure themselves by and say, okay, I'm gonna tick this box, I'm gonna tick this box?
So, put it on the table. I have a first degree in mass communication.
Good.
And so in broadcast school, you're told the things to say, things not to say, elocution, the truth, always the truth, differentiate views and opinions from facts and news. Those are rules, they're universal rules. But the world keeps changing. We know that. And people keep making new rules as they go by. But there are still things that are like definitive about news, about, you know, what you guys do so well here. If you ask me, what do you think about what's the best football team in the world, I'm going to say it's Liverpool. But that's my opinion.
Yeah.
It's not news. So
I'll give you an award for that.
Yeah, you can give me an award for coming to talk about my views, but you can't now give me an award for coming to give the news, because Liverpool didn't win the Premiership last season. It was Man City. So we must differentiate between facts and opinion. I think those are rules that you're taught if you go to broadcast school or journalism school. But the world keeps changing, and it's now codes that rule. And those codes are, they move from geographies. Different geographies have different codes. So in Nigeria is the broadcasting codes by the Nigerian Broadcasting Commission. You know, there's been some controversy about it, but there's still a code, and still a majority of those codes are not in contention, so to say. So I think those are the rules that govern broadcasting. And so what the Broadcasting Award wants to do, or proposes to do, is objective, is to encourage broadcasters to do their jobs properly. The belief is that if you reward people, then you push them to do better.
Yeah.
And when people know there's a potential, there's a possibility for reward, then they tend to take themselves more seriously.
And do better
and
going
do better
forward. But
going forward.
Let me ask a question that around something that Alera said when we started, talking about English Day, American tomorrow, New Zealand another day, and all of that. The official language in Nigeria, to the best of my knowledge, is British English. Will that language play any significant role in the awards for broadcast, for presenters, for instance?
Let me disappoint you. The official language in Nigeria is English. It's not British English. Okay. There is no official accent in Nigeria.
Okay.
So what will happen is that we will, in terms of the vote, how you determine who the winner is, 50% of the weight is from people out there, the consumers of this product, the people watching us now, hopefully, and 50% of it is determined by a panel of judges, of high-quality people with experience, knowledge, you know, exposure in the industry. So what we expect to find is that balance. So the truth is, if this guy is speaking in a Swedish accent, I don't like him, I have 1,000 other channels to tune to. So it's my choice to say, I like the way Alero has spoken for 25, 30 years. Sorry, that long. Some of you might not know.
Yeah. Oh, you mean almost 40?
Almost 40. But some other person might like some presenter that says, you know, how it's going to be tonight. It's a matter of choice, really. So it's a balance between technical quality and popularity. So we're going to find that balance.
Okay.
So to work for the consumer.
Yes.
So Guy, how are you going to get entries in?
There'll be a call for entries, which Jenkins is going to talk about probably by the end of this month. People who send in their names, like Alera could say, use you as an example. You say, I would like to enter, and this is works I've done.
Okay.
And then the judges will determine, vote on you.
Works.
works you've done. Yes, it has to be
Not
what
just
you've-
one.
No,
A series.
The chances are that, just like in many, we can say sending your best three. You understand?
Okay.
You know, and it doesn't have to be you. It can be Channel's television saying, you know what, we think we have the best presenters, the best morning show, and the best this XX, you know, Y.
So a station, an organization can put in for all the entries?
Yes, you can.
Yeah.
How many awards are there in all?
There are possibly 28 awards.
Oh.
But there are also a few other awards that celebrate contributions to broadcasting and contributions to the industry. Those ones you don't enter for. Those ones are born saying, those ones is born saying, born might come and say, you know, for building this beautiful studio, you know, whoever built it deserves this award. Those ones are not voted for.
Okay.
But the ones that will be voted for, I think 28, both in English and Indigenous language, both in radio and television.
That's a tall task. Because I know that one of the challenges that practitioners have had, you know, is in measuring Indigenous languages, for instance, in particular, is how is what measured? For instance, there are dialects in Igbo language, there are dialects in Yoruba language. So how is the determination?
Since we're not measuring or rewarding dialectics and, you know, intonations and stuff like that, it's not as difficult as you think.
Oh, really?
We're saying, what's the best news program in an Indigenous language? We have 26 entries. We have this panel of super smart people in a room, and they reduce it to 5 or 10, and they ask people to vote. So it's about voting. And now you might ask me, so we have more people who speak Yoruba than they speak Igala. So how are you going to determine that? So at the end of the day, it becomes where the technical people come in and they say, you know, this presenter carries himself well. He verbalizes well. He speaks properly. He doesn't use foul language, because we're all Nigerians. We'll find people who speak all those languages. So look at those entries and say, this guy, he's been calling Ujuelegba, and so he's not making it. You know, so it's a lot of work. But because these are awards. These are peer awards from your peers. They carry more weight. There's a lot more work done towards determining who the winners are. So,
and that makes it more credible, because you have people in the industry, veteran industry players, voting or judging the media space. So it's not like you're getting people who don't understand the industry.
Again,
people with ethics.
That poses another challenge.
And integrity, not the integrity part of it.
That poses another challenge, Mr. Moripros, and here is why. Broadcast practice when Alero started, and broadcast practice today.
Completely different.
Very different.
Completely.
I know that.
Okay.
We couldn't operate equipment.
Okay.
You just went and presented. There were studio managers who operated the equipment. But these days, you are operating and presenting at the same time.
No, your job then, you had someone come, a librarian, bring the music to you in the studio. And then you had a studio manager play the music for you. But now, the presenter is the general manager of everything.
That's right.
So that's right. One of the that I said.
I couldn't present on radio today, for instance, because I wouldn't know how to operate the equipment. I'd have to go learn.
We'll give you someone. You can't go die with this experience that you have. Yes, you will give you someone to do the job for you.
We'll give you a young guy.
Exactly.
So don't worry.
So that raises another question, because the orientation that the veterans grew up with is one, distinct, pristine. And so sometimes listening to the younger people today can be very disappointing for a huge number of them. So how is that not going to play a role?
That's why you have the call for entries, and that's when they send in the resumes or entries, the professionals get to weed them out.
So, and the question is, who is a veteran? And so when Guy uses the word properly, veteran, I think somehow what we register is old men and women. So am I a veteran?
Yes, you are.
But I dare say that I'm as modern as I can get, because, I mean, I have the access. I have access to all the most current information. I consider myself a scholar of sorts. And so and I'm not talking about myself because I'm not going to be in the judging team, but I can tell you there are quite a number of Nigerians who you consider veterans, who are also young. And it's a panel of quite a number of people. We're going to have people in their 30s, 40s on that panel, who then will bring their own experience, their own knowledge, their own maybe, what do you call it, recentness, permit me to use a word like that. And that creates the balance. It's not going to be a panel of, I'm sure when Guy says, veterans, maybe you're looking at some 60, 70
good you clear that.
Maybe professionals are
Professionals.
It's good you clear that, because some are going to say, veterans.
No, it's not those kind of veterans.
Not old veterans. I didn't say old veterans. I said veterans.
Now,
however,
are they young veterans?
Yeah, there's some young professionals who are veterans in the industry.
When you say old, that's...
No.
That's coming to what some people will call hate speech.
No. We're not going old. It's not about
protest.
No. You're a professional.
And young at heart.
And young at heart.
All of that, of course, is leading to a huge event, which we hold in November, which we believe will be live on television in all born member stations.
Of course.
What it means is a huge opportunity for people who want to drive brand awareness to be part of it. So Born will be looking for sponsorship, obviously, so that we create an event that equals the kind of quality that we expect from Nigerian broadcasting. So it's not some small parlor event. It's a huge...
So it leads me to that natural question. What's the outlook going to look like? It's going to be on all broadcast stations in the country simultaneously?
Yes.
And a good number of them run on the stream live online as well.
Yeah.
So what's they going to be like? Give us an idea, an image, if you like, of what to expect.
So if you go on YouTube and you try to watch the last Academy Awards, the last Oscars, so that's the kind of event we're planning. It's not going to be speeches and speeches and speeches. It's going to be celebrating professionals who have done, the belief is that when you push professionals to strive to win these awards, you drive their professionalism, you drive them to do better, and that impacts on our national development also, so that quality begets quality. So if people know that, broadcast journalist knows that next year, Channels won this year, and we want to win it next year. It means we're going to look at Channels better and say we need to up the quality, so catch up and overtake Channels. And so many people, striving to get up.
And
there.
so for presenters and stuff like that, I want to win the award next year. So I've got to improve.
And don't forget, once awards are being given out to presenters and radio stations, TV stations, and the likes of that, it encourages young people in mass communications who want to come to journalism, say, hey, I want to be a broadcaster. I want to be journalism. I want to be a news reporter. I want to be great like they are. Okay. So I get an award.
Quick one. So on the screen right now are 13 of the award categories. Best radio and TV, best and all of that you'll find on the screen. What is also interesting is that this is, as you said, Mr. Lumana.
Jenkins, actually.
Okay, Jenkins, since we're broadcasters, essentially going to push people to do more for themselves. Now, a sizable number of broadcast practitioners look for where the money is, if I can use that term. You do well on radio and on television, brands come to you and say they want to recruit you for this. We'll come back to that one. But you talked about brands wanting to sponsor and all of that. What do the brands get beyond just, what's that thing, commercials on TV and all of those things? What do the sponsoring brands get? What are there categories of sponsorships?
Yes, there will be categories of sponsorship. Well, of course, generally we need a name sponsor, a main sponsor, different kinds of... we are hoping that sometime down the line you will give us the opportunity to come talk about sponsorship, particularly. But what they get is, first of all, the eyeballs. So on that day, if you're Nigerian and you're watching television, there's a 70%, 80% chance that you will be watching the TNBAs, because it's going to be... And the truth is, because we know that, we also intend to have a really big show on, so that it's not just because you are compelled to, because it's not, you're not forced to. You want to see it because of also the kind of people that we expect to be there, the kind of show we expect to put on, the kind of musicians we expect to be there. You know, you're going to see all your superstars. You're going to see, you know, you guys there. You know, it's that kind of thing that drives people to want to see these award shows. The quality of the event itself and the quality of people being rewarded. That's one. Two, as a brand, you want to associate with such a beautiful event, such a rewarding event, such an event that you believe will also drive the improvement of our country. Because I think that different legs of Nigeria need to come together to make the country work. If as a broadcaster, you don't know that you need to do your job better, then why do you expect the policeman to do his job better? And why do you expect somebody other person to do their jobs better?
Ouch. So, Jenkins, you're talking about an event akin to the Oscars, for instance.
Yeah, that's correct.
So we're going to see glamour and glitz and the whole works. So behind all of this, there has to be a lot of publicity. You are the communications person. So what kind of publicity do you plan to give all this leading up to the event in November?
Major publicity. That's why we're here. I mean, this is one place to start. I mean, a lot of people watch Sunrise. A lot of people depend on you guys. So because it's for broadcasters, we're recruiting every Nigerian broadcaster is part of the publicity plan. Because these are awards.
It's ours.
It's ours, yeah.
It's ours. So if you're watching, very soon we're going to launch the TVCs, the radio jingles and all that. And because
for those who don't know, TVC is TV commercial.
Yeah, TV commercial.
Just to be clear.
Yeah, just to be clear.
Oh, as opposed to...
Just to be clear,
Okay.
Yeah.
As opposed to the other one.
Okay.
So because this belongs to... It's easier also because every broadcast station that's a member of BORN, and that is almost every broadcast station in Nigeria, is part of the effort to publicize this event. So it makes it, you know, in terms of publicity, easy. And I'm talking including Africa Magic, I mean, even channels that are not broadcast stations on themselves, but that run on other platforms, you know, on DSTV, on Star Times, all of that. So getting involved in this for a brand is ginormous. I mean, the opportunities are, you know, it's like you get one, pay one, get a 300 free.
Wow. And don't forget, there are like 300 member stations in board.
Ooh.
That's
Nationwide.
Nationwide. That's quite enormous. That's radio, television.
Okay. Now, we don't clearly, there isn't much time. If this event, as you say, is going to hold in November, and it's going to be called for entries.
At the end of this month, in a few weeks.
In a few weeks.
You got your work cut out.
Oh, that's why he's grown white beards early. So, So there's the rollout by the end of this week. Okay.
End of this month.
Okay. Are the terms out already? Okay, these are the things you need to do. These are the
all done. It just needs to be to be announced at the end of the month at some time, saying these are the call of entries, these are the criteria. This is the judging committee. A lot of work has been. The steering committee led by Guy meets every week.
Okay,
it's met every week for the last 3 months.
Okay, is it going to be hard copies or soft copies?
There's a website.
Digital submission of the
website. tnba.ng that you can go get additional information.
I'm going to check it right away. tnba.ng. So people can actually go start checking them out now?
Yes.
Okay.
TNBA.
So tnba.ng is the website.
And of course we have all the social media handles, tnba.ng on Facebook, on Instagram, on Twitter, you know. So all of that you can get more information, and the entries will be done on that. There will be an alternative also of maybe sending your, digital copies to an email address just to make sure that, they all come in. I mean, this is 2022. Those things you don't need to post any letter. There will be no DHL involved.
You don't?
UPS or...
I don't know.
I have stamps. What do I do with them?
Time is running out now.
Support is required from individuals and organizations, both in cash and in kind. And like Jenkins said, it's like you pay for one and you get 300 for free, because this is going to be broadcast live all over Nigeria. Live, I said. I repeat, live. It's showing at the same time all over Nigeria.
Online.
Because all these broadcast stations are members of the broadcasting organizations of Nigeria.
And they all have strong online presence. That needs to be clear. So
yeah.
It will be like, if you're not watching,
it'll be everywhere.
It'll be everywhere.
I mean, and like Jenkins, it'll be like watching the Oscars. You don't want to miss that, do you?
It's going to be like channel.
The ladies are all going to be there strutting their
like
stuff, dressed to the hilt.
I need to rub this
all
in.
the latest fashions will be there.
It's going to be like channel television, which is ubiquitous. Yes, so...
I think you know. So thank you very much, gentlemen. I mean, this is, as they say, this is causa nostra. It is our cause. It is our thing. So let's do it.
This is a family affair now. So it's a family affair.
It is.
All broadcasters.
It is. It is.
Take note.
The Nigeria Broadcasting Awards coming up in December. And watch out. The call for entries will be in November. The call for entries will be out at the end of this month. So if you are interested and you have something to put in, watch out. Don't miss the dates so that you can put in your entry and be part of it in November when it's all going to happen. You know how broadcast people are? We're very glamorous. You don't want to miss it.
You want to say you are very audacious. Just say.
Well, that's another way of saying it. So they will all be there. All those people you see on TV.
You want to borrow Jenkins' word, ginormous.
Exactly. Mr. Guy Mora Bruce.
To celebrate our own.
Absolutely.
Yes, Chairman, TMBA Steering Committee, and he's also the president of Silverbird Group. I forgot to say that at the beginning. How remiss of me.
That's okay.
And Mr. Jenkins Alamona also came along. He is also on the committee, and he is the CEO of Strategic Outcomes Limited, and they are the communications consultants for the entire event. Your support will be appreciated. Thank you very much. We shall be back in just a moment with another interesting conversation. Do stay with us.
When you see MTN, you think you want to make a call. Yes, but this conversation is about more than that. On Friday, 13th of August, 2021, MTN Foundation donated an oligosynthesis machine to the Nigerian Institute of Medical Research, NAIMA. Don't ask me what it means, you'll hear it soon. But suffice to say that the oligosynthesizer equipment is capable of making short synthetic DNA or RNA copies of organisms and produce genetic materials to aid molecular and synthetic genetic testing. See, I'm running into trouble again. I'm just going to stop there and welcome our
guest. Because he doesn't understand what he's saying.
I have no idea what I'm saying. It's coming from my mouth. And guess what? What I found out recently, all of these things have to do with my body. This thing, I was telling a friend earlier in the week that your doctor knows more about you than you know about yourself.
Yes.
And it's my body.
Yes.
Just like your mechanic knows more about your
car. Exactly. Exactly.
Anyway, let's have a conversation around this with Odunayo Sanya, who is Executive Secretary, MTN Foundation. Thank you so much for being here this morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having us.
Yes, as well as Professor Babatunde Salako, who is Director General, National Institute of Medical Research, NAIMA. Thanks.
Nigerian Institute of Medical Research.
I read it earlier. Nigerian Institute of Medical Research. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for having
me. See, Nigerian National, sometimes I have a problem determining which is which. There's so many agencies of government. First of all, we'll come to the MTN part, but first of all, this tongue-twisting, mouth-shaping thing that I see. What does it mean? Oligosynthesis.
Not Holy Ghost.
Thank you. Now, the machine produces, you can call it artificial short DNA fragments or RNA fragments. Now, the DNA is what makes up the genetic architecture of an individual. Mm-hmm. But if you take an organism, for example, and I would like to use the COVID because that's something that everybody understands now in Nigeria. It has a genetic code. And in that code, there is a particular section that makes the body to attack the virus. So we call it the spike protein of the virus. So what the machine does is that the researcher looks at that short segment and then artificially synthesize that genetic code. And that genetic code can then be targeted as an object for diagnosis for kids, okay? So that if you take that small part and use it to develop maybe a kit, if you put a sample in it, it will detect that same copy in that sample. Okay. And that's what becomes positive. All right? So that's what that does. But it can also be used in sequencing, okay, to sequence an organism that you probably don't know before. In that situation, it's put in a vector. And when you sequence that, all the PCR or the sequencing machine, either of them that is being used does, is to be able to pick the latter part of the genes, and then it continues to replicate and produce plenty of copies of that.
We're going to have to come for medicine 101. But this doesn't even sound like 101, right? It sounds like 401 or 405. Thanks for joining us again, madam. So you want to tell us briefly about MTN Foundation and your relationship with NAIMA?
Awesome. The MTN Foundation is MTN's corporate social responsibility arm. It was founded in 2004, and we commenced operations in 2005. People ask why would MTN, want to have a foundation? Why would you see, at MTN we believe that everyone deserves the benefits of a modern connected life. When we talk about the connectedness, is beyond voice and data services. It's really the ability to enable people live good lives within their communities and as individuals. And so the foundation came about. The foundation has a full governance structure, has a board, its own board separate from MTN. But I think it's important to note that I call it a dedicated commitment. MTN solely funds the foundation through this dedicated commitment of up to 1% of MTN Nigeria's profit after tax every year. And that's the MTN has done since 2005.
You say 1%, but
yes.
1% of several billion is a huge amount of money.
Tell me about it.
That you put into the foundation.
Yes.
Okay. Now, why this particular equipment to NAIMA?
Okay, so I was leading up to that. So
right.
At the foundation,
everything
we do, we do through the lens of the SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals, and through the lens of Nigeria's national priorities. So that breaks it down into two major portfolios that we push within the foundation. So one is youth development, which is obvious. Yesterday was International Youth Day. It's obvious why anyone must invest in youth development in Nigeria today. Our demography says it all. We're young. I think we're the youngest country in Africa, and Africa is the youngest continent in the world currently by demography.
Oh, yes.
Yes. So we do a lot of interventions through scholarships in STEM, science and technology scholarships, and we give scholarships to blind Nigerians to get to go through school. We also do a lot of digital skills training, and we just continue to build the capabilities of the young Nigerians. Now, on the national priorities, that's where the NAIMA partnership comes in. There we look at health, we look at community development, a lot of water and sanitation type projects we do. So around, I think about February, March of 2020, COVID had hit, and I think February 8th was announced. We got our first case in Nigeria, if I remember vividly. And the whole world was pretty much confused. But we got a nod from NAIMA. They did come to us to say this could help us, further research, even beyond COVID, but it could take us a step, ahead. And so the journey started. That's the oligosynthesizer or the oligosynthesis machine. And we worked with NAIMA. We had to bring in the machine because there's none. I understand, and Professor Salako can confirm, that's the only functional machine of its type in the whole of West Africa.
West Africa?
Yes, not even Nigeria alone. So we worked. It took a while because we had to bring. They had to bring in the machine. But fast forward. August 2021, we commissioned the laboratory in NAIMA's premises in Yaba in Lagos. And for us, it was pretty much beyond, it was, of course, MTN is not a medical organization. We don't deal in. But for us, it was the ability to further, to move Nigeria forward. It was, we counted it a privilege to be part of that story where we can say that we contributed to moving Nigeria forward. And Professor Salako will say more. There are many more use cases to what the primers or the oligonucleotides. I'm learning. I'm also learning medicine 701.
Now, Professor, MTN has donated that equipment. Are they also committed to maintaining it for you?
Yes, for a year to start with. And we're happy with that. Well, they have not agreed that we're on our own, but they said for a year first. So I imagine that if we do well, they will review the situation.
But Professor Salako, this kind of equipment, I'm sure it would still be under guarantee for a period of a year.
Yes.
So, after 1 year, what happens?
We actually are working with MTN to develop a business plan where we can use funds coming from the sales of primers, which is a product that the machine produces, to maintain the machine. And then, of course, we have a direct dealings with the manufacturers. And these days of Zoom and all of that, it's easy to have conversation with the manufacturers if we have any troubleshooting issue. And it's also easy for people on ground to quickly pick from whatever they are advising them to put the thing in shape.
But surely, Professor, if it's the only one of its kind in West Africa, you will be getting patronage from other West African countries, won't you?
Yeah, that's the plan. That's our expectation. And that's one of the reasons why we are trying to get a lot more people to know that this really exists.
Now, so far, how far? What are the stories that one can say as a result of this equipment? These are the things we've been able to do.
Yes, we've had to produce primers or oligonucleotides, whichever one you understand.
Here we go again.
So
let's take the primers.
The primers. So the primers are used to make diagnosis and produce what they also call assay, right? So the assays are used with the kits to make diagnosis of diseases. And for now, we have developed primers, an assay for monkeypox, for example, which is a disease about town now.
What does that lead
to? Of course, it means we have the capacity to detect case if we have samples to treat. And of course, one of the things you want to do to prevent epidemics is to detect case early so that you can take steps to prevent the spread of the disease. And we have primers for Ebola, for example. So very soon, we're going to come up with local kits that can also make diagnosis of Ebola if we have samples of suspected cases. We have used it to develop primers for making diagnosis of some other viruses, like, I can't remember now which one, but there was a case in Lutz who had marrow transplantation. And I imagine maybe they're battling with some kind of virus infection, which we have to help them to produce primer for Epstein-Barr virus to make that diagnosis in that patient. So it's as useful as that. And then they can also be used in vaccine development, especially when you look at the protein subunit vaccines. So you can produce primers and produce that kind of protein and then try to produce it in large quantity using a special bacteria, which the people in the lab are very familiar with, by cloning. And then you can purify that and test it in animals to see whether it can evoke an immune response against the virus or any organism at all. So it's very useful for many things. And most young researchers in the universities and research institutes are busy conducting experiments that require designing and production of primers. And this has to be sent outside Nigeria before. So it takes like 2 to 3 weeks before you get it back. And of course, since it's something you artificially design, you may not get it perfect. So if they produce it for you outside and they send it and you use it and it's not working, then you have to redesign and then send again.
Send some more dollars.
So you are spending more money. But
please
now
use the correct
dollars or
yes.
pounds or euro, as it were. So now it's right at our doorstep.
So it's cheaper to do those things.
It's cheaper. It's also save time.
Now, madam, an equipment of this nature, from what we can gather, being the only one in West Africa, must have cost MTN a tidy sum.
Yes, it did.
Was it up to the 1% annual?
No, it wasn't the entire 1% annual, but yes, it did. It did cost. I think it cost us circa about 100 million naira to bring that in. But for us at MTN, you know, it's beyond the money.
No wonder nobody else has it in West Africa.
Like I was saying, for us, it's beyond the money. It's the fact that, you know, we have it here and
the usefulness.
Yes, and the success story of this partnership for us is the fact that it's a testament to private-public sector partnership where it can work. Because I must tell you, you know, we have our key performance indicators. We meet regularly to find out, you know, where we are, where we're heading. He talked about a business plan to commercialize. They're government, but hey, they're private, they're public sector, but we're all working like this because we need to deliver. And so for us, it is about, MTN has done one. We need more organizations, you know, to do two, to do the second one, to do the third one, to do more. And then by so doing, we move Nigeria forward.
Madam, my mind was just going round and round and saying, Nigeria needs more cancer detection machines, machines for kidney dialysis and all that. MTN didn't go into all that. They chose this very rare machine to go into. Why is that?
Okay, so just I'll do a flashback now in my head. About 8 years ago, MTN, through the MTN Foundation, we've actually done mammography centers. We've done hemodialysis centers. So I think 8 to 9 years ago, we worked with general hospitals across the country, and we were able to install 12 hemodialysis machines. So we remodeled the entire centers and created 12 hemodialysis machines and centers and 6 mammography centers across the country. And it's something, you know, are there challenges? Yes, there are challenges. There are challenges, you know, cultural challenges, the attitudinal challenges, and all of that. But the strength of the partnership with NAIMA, I think, gave us a bit more hope that you can still have a private-public partnership that works, really.
It's not going to go away. I'm still perhaps going to go back to the school I never went for medicine, because this whole thing, you know, is coming this way. Prof, we've talked about your plan for sustainability, but the capacity to use these things is another thing altogether. You have said that there are some people, some young people, some doctors, practitioners, who go into the practice trying to use this equipment, and that's admirable. How widespread is the knowledge that we have this kind of equipment in Nigeria's medical or science community?
Well, it's not an equipment that every university should have. It's an equipment that provides opportunity for researchers in every university to move their research forward. If we have opportunity to have more, it's okay. Of course, looking at the population of Nigeria and the area that we expect it to cover, it's more like a business on its own, producing and servicing people who need such services. So the young researchers do their experiment in their laboratory, they design what they want, and then they send it to this lab to produce for them. Okay? So they really don't need to know how it's being produced as part of the skills that they require, no.
And it's the personnel that work with it?
Oh yes, we have trained people, again, thanks to MTN. And we now have a group of young men and researchers who have mastered the process and can deliver at a very short time.
Since this is about research, I'm just curious, because we've been talking about all kinds of, you talked about, you know, our capacity to produce, help in producing vaccines as well. There are questions, because recently we're hearing of some other virus coming from China, Lanya, you know, virus or whatever it is. How does this help us to prepare for the unexpected?
Yeah, thank you very much. That's why the equipment is very useful. When COVID broke out and we had to continue research into it, one of the rate-limiting steps was the availability of primers. Ordinarily, we will have to buy. After designing, we send to them, pay, then they will send it. And we thought that this was taking time, especially with the lockdown and no-fly zone created all around the world. So we thought that the best thing to do is for us to have an in-house machine where we could easily produce some of these designed experiments. And that was the basis for it. It's not just for COVID, for many diseases, including bacteria, viruses. For example, we discovered a new malaria vector somewhere in the north recently by our researchers. And we needed to determine whether this indeed is a virus. And we needed to produce primers. If it was before, we would have to be either begging people, CDC or so, to send us the primer, or we design and send them to send it to us. Well, we just went to the next door, design the primer, produce the primer, and confirm the diagnosis.
How much time does it save us? How much money, if you can put a figure?
It would be difficult for me to put a figure, but in terms of time, it saved a lot of time because it's something that could be done. If we get an order today, you can get it the next day, or it will be ready the next day, depending on where it's going. But if it's in and around Lagos, you could get it the next day. And so that saves the 3 weeks of agony, of waiting, and even thinking whether what you have sent is what was produced.
While the patient is dying.
While the patient is waiting.
Well, I don't even know where to begin.
Where to end, you mean?
I don't know where to end because, you know, it's just exciting that such a thing could happen to us.
Yes,
we know
indeed.
we are about 200 million.
Thanks to MTN.
Yes. How many people do we have in West Africa? I don't even hazard a guess. We have to thank you very much, madam, for being here and for all the work you do to move Nigeria forward. Everywhere we go, we move. Odmayo Soya is Executive Secretary, MTN Foundation. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
As well as Professor Babatunde Salako, Director General, Nigerian Institute of Medical Research, NAIMA. Thank you for your time this morning.
Thank you very much.
So where do we go next? Where's to?
Lifestyle.
Yes, it's lifestyle, but about how you care for your skin. Stay with us. Okay.
Yes, we're back now, and we're going to be talking about your skin. Great skin is not simply a matter of DNA, you know.
Even especially since we talked about DNA the other time.
That machine. Medicine 101.
No,
Your
that's
daily
405.
habits. Your daily habits, in fact, have a big impact on what you see in the mirror. Depending on which product reviews you read or which doctors you consult, there's a dizzying number of opinions on everything from how to moisturize to how you to protect yourself from UV rays.
And there's another one I hear, how to detoxify. Yes.
Detoxify?
Yes. I heard that as well. No, why are you looking?
Okay.
You don't even know the person you're looking at.
All right. Somehow I don't think it's detoxify for the skin. Anyway, we have a specialist.
Exfoliate.
Exfoliate. Now you're talking.
Yes.
We have a specialist in the house. Dr. Folakemi Cole Adeife, consultant dermatologist and venereologist at the Lagos State University Teaching Hospital, Ikeja. Thank you very much for coming this morning.
Good morning. Thank you for inviting me.
Morning. Was that the right word we used? Exfoliate?
Exfoliate, yes.
Good.
That's correct.
Good.
But you didn't get it. You said detoxify.
I'm the one that... Come on. I'm the one... This is a gang up. This is a gang up.
Now, tell us, what is the importance of good skin?
Well, good skin is extremely essential. As you know, our skin is our cover. It's what everybody sees. You know, the skin is also the largest organ in the body. And it weighs, I mean, it's about 10 to 15% of your total body weight. So it's a very major part of you.
It weighs that much?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
And, of course, that's the first thing people see when they see you.
Someone missed the weight. What does the skin weigh again?
At least 10% of your body weight, sometimes more. Okay. So that's a very, very essential part of you. So the skin is extremely important because...
That's the type of your body.
Oh, yes.
Okay. Yes, just.
It does represent you. It also protects the body from the outside world, and also is kind of like a window into the internal organs, because sometimes you can see that something is going wrong or something is not quite right from the skin.
Yeah, because someone looked at my hand once and said to me, "Oh, you're not taking enough water. I can see it from your skin.
Yes.
You need to drink more water."
Exactly. So the skin can actually show when a person is dehydrated or not drinking adequate or not eating, properly. And there are some diseases.
He's checking out his skin.
Am I drinking
Can you please
water?
tell him if he's drinking enough water?
Seems okay.
Seems okay.
Yes.
How come that doesn't sound very exciting? Seems.
Well, generally, we have this issue with men because, you know, they really don't pay much attention to their skin most of the time. So generally...
men shouldn't rub cream.
Yeah, so they tend to have dry skin.
Men shouldn't moisturize.
Yes, but not all men, but it's more common in males than in females.
Now, what is the importance of moisturizing?
Well, moisturizing is key because sometimes, you know, the weather and the environment can be unfavorable to the skin. And also it depends on a person's genetic makeup. You know, we all have different genetic makeup, and that sometimes affects our skin. Some people have drier skin than others. Some people have oily skin. And so we say, you know, your general genetic skin type, because you can't really change that very much, but you can modify or work with it according to the environment that you find yourself. And then sometimes other things like medications or, you know, your state of health can also impact your skin. So for moisturizing, it's very essential, especially for people with dry skin. But everyone ideally should moisturize their skin.
How many times a day, for instance?
Well, it also depends on the weather, on the environment. You know that during the dry season or in the harmattan, you would need to moisturize more frequently than perhaps during the rainy season or during a very humid, you know, time of the year. So that also is, there's no one rule or one answer to that.
One size fits all.
It depends on the person's skin type. Some people have extremely dry skin and need to moisturize at least twice a day. Some people can, you know, get away with once a day. And some people, as we know, don't even moisturize at all.
Now, perhaps that will lead us to another phase altogether.
Right.
Or maybe a next leg of the same conversation. When you talk about moisturizing, something is playing in someone's head, I need to get a moisturizer. And there are all kinds of moisturizers out there. Is there a guide to what a moisturizer or moisturizers that people use should have? Because there are all kinds, and people will rub all kinds of things because they've seen that, I don't know if it's different from toning, they call it now, or lightening, or all those things.
Oh yes, that's a major problem in our environment. So yes, we do know that people do rub all kinds of things on their skin. Sometimes some of those things are harmful and not helpful. Basic skincare actually doesn't just start from moisturizing, it starts from the kind of cleanser or soap that you use on your skin. So we advocate that people use gentle cleansers. A lot of people feel the need to clean their skin by using antiseptics and very harsh soaps, and that actually dries out the skin a lot more, takes off some of the normal, friendly, healthy bacteria that we have on our skin that help our skin to function properly. So that in itself is one of the first things that makes the skin extremely dry. So we in this environment, we feel that we need to remove all the germs on our skin by using antiseptic soaps or liquids. But that is not correct, and that is not really helpful for the skin. And then when you do use those harsh products, you then need to moisturize a lot more because the skin is excessively dry.
I'm lost.
So starting from the soaps...
Wait first.
Yes.
So you say that we should moisturize?
Yes.
But we should clean our skin with gentle
soaps and cleansers.
Soaps.
Yes.
You say we have a problem with antiseptic.
Yes, we tend to overuse antiseptics in our environment because we think it will help us to fight germs and keep us free from diseases. But the studies have actually shown that antiseptic soaps do not prevent people from, you know, diseases any better than a regular gentle soap and water. And in addition, they also affect your normal flora, that's the healthy bacteria on the skin, and also have a negative impact on the environment. So in some countries, these antiseptic products are restricted or banned for household use because the new studies show that in the long run, they do more harm than good. So, and they can actually, contribute to drying out the skin. So you want to reduce that as part of good skincare. So dermatologists recommend gentle soaps and cleansers, not too much of antiseptics, except it is specifically prescribed for a short period or a controlled period of time, but not for regular daily use.
I'm assuming that antiseptic and medicated soaps are the same.
Yes, so anything that has a disinfectant or antiseptic property. We have lots of them in the country. Most people use them. But
to protect the skin.
Yes, but you don't need to, because your skin has its own immune system.
You put a disinfectant in your water, and then you use antiseptic soap.
Yeah, so it's too much.
Overkill.
It's an overkill. And it's not necessary, and it's also in the long run harmful to the skin.
But this is what people do on a daily. In fact, they see commercials on television, or listen to them on radio, and they say that it has something endorsed by someone.
Yeah. Yes, sometimes that happens, but the honest truth is that the science does not support that practice in most cases.
Supports.
Well, they support for certain things, like disinfectants are important in certain areas. For instance, in hospitals, where you need to keep the germ level very low, it's very important to use disinfectants. Surgeons, nurses must use that, to clean their hands, but not for everyday household use.
So when you say that people should use them for limited time, you said, one, it has to be recommended.
Yeah, so sometimes there could be a bacterial infection or some particular condition that may require you to use it for a period of time. And in that case, you can use it, but not, indefinitely or as a regular, everyday.
What's the consequence?
So the consequence is you wipe out your normal, healthy bacteria on your skin. That bacteria helps your skin function normally, and then it can leave room for the bad germs, the bad bacteria, or the pathogenic bacteria to come onto the skin and cause problems. And not just bacteria, fungi, viruses. So there are a lot of studies that show that can happen. And then for some people, they're irritants. People have allergic reactions to them. It causes the immune system of the skin to get a bit confused and become hyperreactive. So some studies have also shown that it makes people to develop more allergies. There's something we call the hygiene hypothesis and also the biodiversity hypothesis. These hypotheses have shown that too much of cleanliness can have a negative impact. So when we overdo it by taking out the normal, healthy
They say we should be clean. These doctors, I tell you, they confuse us.
The issue is that we go overboard in certain areas. Yes, it's just like drinking water. Water is essential for life, and it's great for the skin too. Everyone should drink at least 2 to 3 liters of water in our environment on a daily basis. But if you drink 5 liters of water, you're going to send yourself to the hospital because it's too much. So even too much of certain things, can also have a negative effect.
We should just give up on this, doctors. Remember that discussion about palm oil?
Yes.
At one time, oh no, it's high in cholesterol. You shouldn't. You should just take little quantities. And then they came along. The same doctors came along and said, oh, you can actually take tablespoons of oil, just like you're taking cod liver oil. Oh, it's fantastic. It's the best thing since sliced bread.
They mentioned that?
In some regards, sometimes it's when you do research that shows, and sometimes it also, there are some influences sometimes, with these things that would make people want to say something that is favorable, whether economically or politically. But when you stick to the research without bias and without influence, you can get, the certain outcomes that have been proven.
Okay. We'll come to cultural. You want to ask a question?
Yes. I want to take you to somewhere that Nigerians will be very interested in.
Right.
Bleaching.
Oh, yes.
Yes, I think I am among the very few dark people left in this country. Because everyone Nigerian woman is either bleaching or... No, they don't use that word anymore. That's outdated.
Toning.
They use
glow.
Toning.
No, now it's glow. They want to glow.
Oh, they want to glow.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
I want to glow.
You see how behind times we are? They want to glow.
Yes.
So, how do they glow?
Well, the last I checked, we don't have light bulbs in us, but that's you know what, and it's unfortunate that we no longer appreciate the African beauty as much as we should, our skin color, and there's a lot of there are many reasons for that and many factors. There are a lot of social and economic reasons that have been tied to skin lightening. There have been studies that have shown that people who have lighter skin have, social advantage. They tend to attract more attention from the opposite sex. They tend to find it easier to get job opportunities in quite a number of sectors. Yes, for instance, there was a time that all the billboards in Lagos had light-skinned women on it, or light-skinned men. You couldn't find a dark skin. It's changed now, it's a lot better now. But there was a time that all the adverts on television, all the, billboards, the advertisements had fair, light-skinned people. And there were a lot of people who aspired to be in that that industry.
But couldn't because their skins were dark.
Their skins were dark.
Party Bulai was not light-skinned.
Yes, and those kind of social factors drive the lightening craze. So everybody, a lot of young people grow up believing that lighter skin was more attractive, was more advantageous. And so even mothers would encourage their daughters to lighten their skin. We have problems of mothers bleaching their children. I see them a lot. And we have to start counseling. Oh, yes, we have to counsel the mothers. Stop buying these creams. They say, oh, they just want their child was very fair when she was a baby, but when she grew up, she became dark. She wants to bring it back to her because she was in the womb. She wasn't exposed to the sun.
My son was born looking like a little Chinese child, straight hair and all.
Yeah.
He's as dark as me now.
Exactly. So as you come out into the environment, your genetic makeup takes over to protect you. The skin we have is because of our tropical environment where the sun, the UV intensity is extreme, is intense. And this melanin is what protects us from developing skin damage from the UV rays of the sun and skin cancers.
So it's
a natural adaptation.
Melanin is on everyone's skin?
Oh, yeah. Melanin is the color that you get. Now, everyone has melanin, even white-skinned people, but we have different types of melanin. The one that makes us really dark, that gives us our beautiful dark skin, is eumelanin. There's another type called pheomelanin. Now, the eumelanin is in very high concentrations in us dark-skinned people, and it's protective. So it acts like an umbrella. When the sun hits the skin, it protects the nucleus where all the DNA is from getting damaged by the sun, the UV rays of the sun. And DNA damage can cause cancer.
And, so those who...
Can cause cancer.
Oh, yes,
I'm coming there.
Cancer.
So you're essentially saying that those who bleach and remove that black skin are vulnerable to cancer.
So that's what we think. We haven't started seeing that as much yet, but we believe that in a couple of years, we're going to be seeing a lot more people having sun-induced UV damage, sun-induced skin damage, and possibly increased skin cancers in Black people. We haven't started seeing that because this new lightening craze to be extremely white is quite recent. So we are still studying, but the projections are we're going to start seeing a lot more skin cancer. Certain types of skin cancers are not common in Africans or dark-skinned people. They're more in Caucasians. Where we battle with skin cancers are with people with albinism who do not have melanin. They have a disorder that makes them unable to produce melanin. So they are more vulnerable to the sun. But in Africans, because of our melanin, we don't really see skin cancers so commonly. In America, skin cancer is the commonest cancer. But here, we don't have, we rarely see that. But we're hoping that with this new trend of extreme lightening and extreme skin bleaching, we won't start seeing the skin cancers coming into our clinics in us, and then that is going to be a major problem. And in addition to that, not just skin cancer, some of the chemical agents used for lightening are absorbed into the bloodstream and result in internal organ damage.
That fact is unknown to many people. I'd like you to expatiate on that further. So that when you apply cream to your skin, it doesn't just remain on your skin.
Oh, no, it doesn't. Some of it is absorbed into the bloodstream. The skin tries to keep out most of it, but you still have some of the things that you rub on your skin being absorbed into your bloodstream. And that goes into the organs. So some of the lightening agents like mercury-containing products. Mercury is a heavy metal that is very, very, very dangerous to the internal organs, particularly the kidneys. And kidney failure has been linked to, mercury has been linked to kidney failure in many instances. So if a person is using mercury-containing soaps and creams for skin lightening, they have a very increased risk of developing kidney failure. And we are doing studies to see whether that is contributing to the increase in kidney failure that we have in our environment today, in our country today. And corticosteroids, steroid creams that are also used in skin lightening are absorbed into the body and can actually cause increase in blood sugar, increase in blood pressure, can cause a hormonal imbalance problem that we call Cushing's syndrome, which is very, very difficult to treat. And, you know, we also see people having complications in surgery because their skin is so thin that whenever they require surgery, they cannot stitch up the skin properly because
and they don't heal on time.
They don't heal on time and all that. So there are a lot of complications that people are not aware of, long-term complications. There's even skin failure. I've had a couple of patients
What is called skin failure?
The skin just doesn't work. It stopped working. So I have had a couple of patients who have come to me. They can't keep cold and they can't keep warm, which are part of the functions of the skin. Because the skin has been so damaged by skin bleaching.
I'm sorry.
That
how does that happen? You can't keep. I'm confused.
Part of the functions of the skin is to maintain your temperature. So that's why when you're cold, you have goosebumps.
Yes.
To kind of trap heat in your skin.
Oh.
And when you're hot, you sweat so that you can release heat from the body. So there's thermoregulation. But when the skin is so damaged that it can't do those functions, then the person is constantly feeling very cold or very hot and has to either wear a sweater all the time or exposed because the skin is just not working.
So those people who put something on their skin and you rip it off?
Well, I wish them well because they're actually taking off the outermost layer of the skin.
They call it waxing.
No, waxing is for hair removal. So you don't rip off the skin. It only takes off the hair on the skin. So waxing is a form of hair removal. It can be a bit painful. For a lot of people, especially in Africans, it can result in some complications of ingrown hairs and, you know, other things. But for some people, they're able to get away with it without any too many untoward complications other than the instance of pain that they experienced during the procedure.
At one time, there was, I don't even know what word to use, propaganda, should I say, that you could use bleaching creams as long as they did not contain hydroquinone.
Well, that is not correct. Hydroquinone is one of the common bleaching agents, and it has this, in long-term use, it causes a very ugly side effect called exogenous ochronosis. That is where you have people having this
with
black...
an equally ugly name.
Oh, yes. Where you have this black discoloration, usually on the face,
and
just
then
on the
skin
cheekbones.
now kind of...
Yes, just
is
like
raised
and protruding, sometimes on the forehead, on the neck. That's what exogenous ochronosis is, and it actually is caused by long-term use, restricted use of hydroquinone.
Can it be healed?
It's very difficult and very expensive to treat. It's possible. It's difficult to treat and costs a lot of money as well to reverse. So those things actually, you know, hydroquinone is not the only bleaching agent. And sometimes we use hydroquinone just like antiseptics in small quantities for a small duration of time. However, it is banned in certain countries, like in Europe it's banned. In the US it's permitted with the guidance or prescription of a dermatologist. So in Nigeria, we are banned. We're in the banned category, but it's still very, very common in creams. But it's not the only agent, that can be used for skin lightening. So you cannot. It's not correct to say if it doesn't contain hydroquinone, then it's safe, because the corticosteroids I mentioned are being used. Mercury-containing products are also being used, and a few other newer variants of hydroquinone are being used, which can also equally cause problems with the skin.
Wow.
So generally, we just advise people to just love their skin and take good care of it.
Those who are using those things want to take good care of it.
Yes,
so
so
tell
to
us
learn
how to do it safely.
Okay, so basic skincare, as I always say, is not rocket science. It actually starts from from within.
What you eat.
From what you eat, from what you drink. Those are very, very important steps to skincare. So it's not just about what you put on your skin. Eating a diet rich in fruits, vegetables, drinking adequate water, as we mentioned. Our diet is too carb-based, and it's not too healthy for the skin. So we need to learn to eat a little bit more of plant-based or, fresh fruits.
Farm to table, right?
Yes.
All over again.
Yes, very essential. That's important. Now, for the care, as I mentioned, gentle soaps and cleansers, not too much of disinfecting. Don't try and, you're not a toilet. You don't need to disinfect your skin every day.
My apologies. Someone just told me now that hot water is also a bleaching agent. Is that correct?
That is a burning agent or a scalding agent. I'm not sure if it's a bleaching agent, but it can burn and scald off the top layer of your
skin off.
Yes, but it's not also very good. That's what I was going to say. Extremes of temperature for bathing are not ideal.
Okay.
So too hot, not good. Too cold, not good. Try to use lukewarm water as part of your bath routine.
Well, someone is just telling me now that what does she do? If she uses shea butter, it turns her white or
dark. Most people say it makes them dark.
If you use cocoa butter, which it turns you, I don't know.
A gentle cream. There are lots of creams, and like we said, there's no one size fits all for everyone. Find what works for you. Gentle creams. There are a lot of creams that they do not contain lightening agents. They have moisturizers. You want a cream that has ceramides. You want a cream that has maybe vitamin E. These are good things that are good for the skin. So look out for those ones, but not anything that says toning, whitening, lightening, brightening. No. Try to avoid those ones, because sometimes they contain agents that may cause problems later on. And the worst part is your skin will look nice initially until when the problems begin to set in, and then you start looking for how to solve them. And sometimes they go trying to use different lightening creams to solve the problem, but it just compounds it. So using those gentle products, then sun protection, as we mentioned. What makes us darker is the sun. We tan. So if you don't want to get darker on the face, like most people say their face is darker than the rest of the body, try to reduce direct sun exposure. Like you don't go walking in the market at 12 noon or 1 p.m. when the sun is hottest. And then use a sunscreen cream. We always advise people to use sun protection cream on the exposed parts of the body to prevent or reduce tanning, darkening, and aging, photoaging from the skin.
Okay.
And also pollution is not really helpful for the skin. So things like fumes, firewood fumes, car fumes, generator fumes are bad for the skin. So as much as possible, the skin should not be directly exposed to such agents as much as we can. And if we are exposed, you can rinse them off.
Is shea butter good for the skin?
Shea butter is good for the skin. However, some people say it makes them dark, but it's very good. We recommend it a lot, particularly for people who have dry skin or people who have irritated skin.
What about coconut oil?
Coconut oil is good for the skin, but not good for the face, because it can give pimples. So you can use it on the body, but we try to avoid coconut oil on your face.
How about those who are allergic to certain kinds of foods that give them pimples, just as you mentioned?
Well, it's not known that foods give pimples. Usually pimples are caused by what you put on your skin, the kind of skin you have, usually oily or acne-prone skin, and also hormones. So if there's a surge of hormones like women have sometimes, or men have very high testosterone levels, they could develop pimples. Some people say things like groundnut make their pimples worse. The jury is out on that, but I always tell people, if you notice that that is a problem for you, then just avoid it and stop.
And if symptom passes after 2 days,
see your dermatologist.
Consult your dermatologist.
Is there any peculiarity about children taking care of the body, the skins of babies, adolescents, toddlers?
Oh, yes. So with babies, you need to be even more gentle. And unfortunately, like I said, in our environment, we're always disinfecting. And it's causing, it's an area of research for me, and it's showing that it's causing we're having a lot more children having allergic problems, immune problems, and we think it might be linked to that. So we always tell people, use clean water, use gentle soaps, use gentle creams, the bare minimum, don't overdo it with babies, and you'll be fine. You don't need to use too many products with them. With adolescents, yes, they may need a bit more because that's when they start having pimples. You want to treat them early. You don't want to neglect them because of their self-esteem. But generally, once you get the adequate and correct treatment for the acne, you can manage it well without them having long-term complications that will affect their self-esteem in the future.
They're definitely coming back some of the time because there are certain skin diseases that people go extra measures to take care of. Like you want to heal eczema, you get a knife and you begin to scrape.
No,
please don't talk about it now.
Don't try it at all, please.
Dr. Falakemi Kul Adeife, consultant dermatologist and venereologist at the Lagos State University Teaching Hospital, Ikeja. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you for having me.
That was eye-opening, to say the least. Well, if you've been bleaching, you heard from the dermatologist, stop it.
Or else.
You may be...
tending towards...
You may just...
We're back after now for the home stretch.
Stay with us. That thing he just did.
Well, I don't know. Well, you're wondering who the guest is? Oh, well, the guest is, for now, is not Shaggy. His real name is Adeshege Adeniji, a super creative with skills in writing, acting, and radio presentation. Thanks for joining us this morning.
It's my honor.
Well, his radio personality is West Side, but now he is Westy Baba.
Yes, all my life I've had nicknames, so I'm used to it from birth to this point.
What was your...
Tell us some of those nicknames.
All right, my real name is Adeshege Adeniji. It's Shegun, actually. So my uncle had his son a week before mine, before my dad had me, and my grandfather is Shegun as well. So he wanted to name his son Shegun. My father wanted to name me Shegun. My father said, father being a funky Yankee doctor, said, so I have a cousin who is Adeshege Hakim Adeniji. I'm Adeshege Hakim Adeniji. So I've had to live with that nickname, going to school, new teachers coming. What's your name? Ayo. What's your name? Emeka. What's your name? Sheget. Alegbe. So I've had nicknames all my life. So I'm sort of used to it.
So you are not Adeshege?
No, I'm Adeshege. My government name is Adeshege.
Government name?
Yes, official name.
Okay, your government name is Adeshege.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
I didn't know that there was Westy Baba somewhere around the corner where you were a radio presenter.
Funny enough, that was also, it was West Side. So when I worked at a particular radio station, a close friend of mine, Nnamdi, used to call me Westy Baba. Westy Baba. He just used to call me that. So when I wanted to open an Instagram account, because I just wanted it to be unique, I just called the Instagram account Westy Baba. So by the time my skit started, getting noticed, that was the name that was available. So I just went with it. So everybody just started calling me Westy Baba too.
But, I find something very interesting, Alero, in that personality of Westy Baba. He's very... Where did that come from itself? Please tell us about that. I'm not the one that's going to say it.
Okay, so I grew up in Lagos Island. My father is a medical doctor, but we were situated right in the center
of Lagos Island, Lafayette to be exact. In fact, Vector and I, grew up. He was like 3 or 4 houses away from me.
Who?
So yeah, Vector, the artist,
okay.
the rapper. Yeah. So we grew up right in the hood. There was the silver spoon aspect to a bit, but the fact was the outside was the hood. My father didn't want me to go out that much, read your books. He was till now, a very deep academic and wanted me to be the same as well. But, the streets kept calling.
There wasn't any chance of that.
The streets kept calling. I would, jump the fence, go hang out with the guys in the corner. I got into a lot of trouble, but I picked up a lot of, street sense, as it were, the slang, how to relate with people, even more than I did, in the 4 walls of my house. So by the time my father now left the country, I got into university as early as 16. As soon as I got into university, he said, you know what, you're a man, you can handle yourself, and he went to find greener pastures. So I sort of started taking care of myself from that point. So imagine now I had full access to the streets. So yes, so I absorbed as much as I could, with my background, as a microbiologist, in quotes.
Why do you have to put it in quotes?
Yes, because I've never used that degree. It's a typical Nigerian story. We just go to school, get these bits of paper that will not help us in any way whatsoever. But
Did you go because your father wanted you to go?
I was destined to be the next doctor. I actually...
So you changed your destiny?
Yes, so I wrote JAB, did exceptionally well, but I was about 2 points shy of getting into getting medicine for University of Lagos. I got into med school for Ibadan, but my father didn't want me to go there. So I switched courses to microbiology, thinking that maybe in a year or 2 I could probably switch to... Yeah, but God knows best. Yeah, so
you really didn't want to be a doctor, did you?
I did. You might not notice or see that, but I'm very nerdy and geeky. So I love science. I got a 2-1 in microbiology, and that was even me not being serious because I was doing drama. I was in Theatre 15, the likes of Lay, Bumi Davis, Teju Babyface, Kofi. There was a whole generation being molded at that time, that are now doing things today. And I was part of that and still doing school. So yeah, I did like sciences. I would have been a great doctor.
I'm just trying to imagine. I'm trying to imagine a West Baba doctor.
Yeah, because I've always wanted to make people laugh. I've done that since I was a kid. There's a bit of a dark background to that. Because I was always scared. So to make my environment, safe for me, I tried to make all the people in my environment as happy as I could. So I was always the one trying to be the clown or make you smile or happy. So yeah, I think it would have translated into my medical surgery.
So you're trying to give someone an injection or something, and the person is not lining up, and then the character will come up.
It's just a small pinch. Just calm down. You'll be fine.
Look at the switch. Look at the switch. It didn't even require a thought.
It took a long time to get here, but we're happy we're here.
How did...
So
okay, go on.
After getting a 2-1 in microbiology, why didn't you consider going on to do medicine? I'm
a big believer in fate. I think everything worked out the way it was supposed to. I didn't get into medical school for a particular reason. I got into microbiology for a particular reason because my very first serious girlfriend was in University of Lagos. And she was the one that pointed me in the direction of Theatre 15 because she saw me, I was always being the clown. She could see something that I couldn't. So she pushed me towards Theatre 15. And that sort of molded my career because I met all the people that are in my life now at that point. So Bumi Davis especially, because we went on to do Stand Up Nigeria, great things.
Oh yes, that radio commercial.
We were all in that same...
Stand Up Nigeria.
Yeah, so when I graduated, in fact, when I finished serving, here's fate for you. I got back from camp. The very first day, I was on Awolowo Road trying to get something to eat because I'd been in Kebbi and it was horrible. So I wanted to get real food. And I got out and it was Bumi Davis that I saw outside. Bumi, what's up? You just got back from... I'm just starting this company called Afrotainment Productions. I'm ashamed because we've been doing stage plays in University of Lagos anyway. And he knew that I was very capable at production and writing. He said, let's do this thing together. And I'm not doing anything. Let's go. But that was the beginning, and I sort of just went with it. We did stage plays. We started commercializing it, doing stuff for banks like GT. Then that moved me into radio because Bumi introduced me to Femi Sholu. Femi Sholu was the one that now kickstarted my radio career. So as you see, fate led me to each person, each spot. And I just trust the process. I just go with it.
And you just ran with it.
Yes, ma'am.
And you haven't looked back.
Nope.
Any
never.
regrets?
I wish I had started earlier.
That's the only regret.
Yeah, too late. I remember running away from home at I think 7 or 8 years old. And the first time I was on TV, I was about 8 or 9, because I went to Ajao International. It's on Amadou Bello, right beside NTA. So we could see then the porter cabins and whatnot. I'm talking of this is the 80s, so I see the porter cabins. So my friends and I would, jump the fence, go and look at the big satellites. We even met Danla Di Bako at the time, and he was the one that gave us our first. He said, we said we were a group. What we do, we'd mimic rap songs, nothing but sweat. But I still remember the rhymes. We called ourselves the Three Apples. You were like, okay, there's this children's program. They used to do in the afternoon. I could come on down and do it. But remember who my father is. He's not, into that. That was not the kind of household. So my other friends went home to tell their parents, who were quite excited. I could not. So I went home, was quiet, dear Lord, how am I going to do that? No. So the next day I went to school, and they're supposed to come pick me up at a certain time, 1 p.m. or so. The show was supposed to be at 4. So I hid from the guy that was supposed to pick us up. I hid in school. The guy looked for me. There were no phones or anything then, and then left. And then I now jumped the fence. I had a shirt or whatever inside my uniform. I removed it. I was still wearing my school shoes. It looked weird, so I took them off and did the show barefoot. I remember the woman interviewing me. I said, why are you barefoot? I said, that's my style. So at the end of the showcase, the parents of my 2 friends ready to take them home. 9-year-old boy, where are you? My friends now tell their parents that I didn't tell my parents. Like, what? Took me home. I remember my father, when they knocked, he looked for me. But yes, he said, we have your son. I don't have a son. Because he had been traumatized looking for me and everything. But just because, and if I had known then that it was actually that limelight calling me, or if he had known and encouraged me a little bit, I think I'd have started much earlier. But he didn't. I didn't discover till 30.
He saw in his son a medical doctor.
And that was it.
Stop. How did fishes climbing trees?
Yes, exactly. How did public service announcement start?
All right. Okay, so what this is, it was just, it was fortuitous, if I may say so. I was shooting something else in a particular studio. I consult for a company called PGK. So we had shot something, or we were shooting, and I was waiting for the cameraman. And when I'm bored, I've got this because I was raised as an only child. I always entertain myself. If I'm bored, I have ADD as well, so I need to keep doing things to concentrate on the moment. Either I'm scribbling or drawing something, or I'm humming a song, but I always have to stay active so I can concentrate on what I'm doing. So I just whipped out my camera while waiting, and I always used to do that. Mr. Makinde knows this. I've always switched and done Agbero, and I'll do the British without thinking it was anything.
Back to Buffalo Airlines.
Yeah, so it did come. So I just did a lot of public service announcement. This is to another area boys have feelings too. You cannot just be, like. I just want you to know that, as an area boy, it doesn't mean that I don't have emotions, I was just messing around, and I posted the video. In fact, I did 2 of them. I did another one, Twale. If I was a Twale one that went viral, where you see me give you a Twale, you have to book car, you have to pay me money. Twale is not, that kind of, and I forgot about it. It was 6 months later, some random person just posted it on Twitter, and it took off. And because those were the first things I said in that particular video, I was like, okay, and I'm good at branding and understanding how branding works and how to make sure you retain certain things. So I said, okay, let's stick with the yellow hat. That's what they saw me with, and let's stick with those monikers, public service announcements, Sense. And so I put that in everything I did moving forward.
Buffalo Airlines. Have you heard about that? Have you heard that before? No. He was going to give you a sample now.
All right. So this is a bit Mr. Makinde's talking.
Of course.
So while I was at Radio Continental, I've always wanted to do Buffalo. Yes. Yeah. So I've always wanted to challenge myself. Broadcasting for me, in fact, I've retired from radio twice because I wasn't challenged. I wasn't challenged anymore. It was the same thing, and I was good at it. I was bored and I wanted more. So what I used to do was I tried to bring in more elements to it. So I created this persona because I'd been on a trip to Abuja. And this is not a joke. I will not call out the airline, but we were in the air and I looked out the window and I noticed that the air flap, the wing flap, was held down by duct tape. And it was actually, it was flapping. That was the scariest 40 minutes of my life, so, and I said, Mogba for long. Do you understand? That's what I said. I said, Mogba for long. So I now created this character as a pilot, and his airline is called Bafolon Airlines. They'll get you there dead or alive. So it was sort of, I wanted to just play like a parody on Nigerian airports and the system at that time. Nothing much has changed, exactly. But at that time, I wanted to just, point a spotlight at that with humor. So there'll be different things happening on the plane. People are selling dodokiri, in the plane. His wife pounds yam on the plane, for people. Sometimes things can happen and he can jump out to the parachute and he does wave to you. Like, sorry, you guys figure it out.
He used to make announcements.
Yes, this is your captain speaking. I am Captain Chief Dr. Philip. It's been a long time, but I still remember that. Yes. Chief Doctor. As you are looking out of your window, you might notice that we are flying close to the ground. So yes, so I just wanted to add elements.
You have also worked with some major players in the industry.
Yes, I have.
How has that played out for you?
That's a loaded question. So I have been very privileged, to be honest, to have worked with, some of the best to do it in all the spheres, from music to stage. I've written and worked as a head of production for Funke Akindele. The very first season of Jennifer's Diary, I wrote that with Funke, and I worked on that together. I also worked with her on other projects like Siblings and I, worked with Ali Baba, Bumi Davis. The question you ask is loaded. Why? Because I believe whatever relationships we make, whatever we get out of it is up to us. I've never been a person to feel entitled to anyone being able to do anything for me. But if I have a relationship with you and I feel I can leverage on it, I will. I've not gotten as much as I would have liked, but that's my person. I'm not the person to say, do this for me. I'd rather be in a position where we can do it together. Likes of Basket Mouth, I would have loved a situation where I can do more with him on social media for my Westie Baba. But I know how busy he is, and I know how he curates his content, so I can't force him to do that. So those are kind of things that you have to understand. What are you going to get from this? It might not be what you want, but at least have the relationship so the ship can say, at least this ship will
transition again.
Exactly. Okay. Without a thought.
Okay, you are going to give us a script in 30 to 45 to 60 seconds.
All right.
And tell young people to get their PVCs when they are released, because registration has stopped.
Yes.
When the PVCs are released, and they should use it to vote.
All right.
So we're waiting.
All right. Can I speak in? We are on sunrise.
No, that's your camera there.
This way, okay, so I can take the camera home when I'm taking you home. Hey, public service announcement. My name is Westie Baba, the educated area boy. See, let me not even lie to you, but listen to me. 2023, one chance. Not one chance, boss you. One chance, because if you do not do the right thing, we have entered 8-year one chance boss. If you do the right thing, you are good to go. If you have registered for your PVC, make sure you collect it. Last one, use your heart to vote. Whether you are obedient, you articulate, you are batified, democracy like she. Use your brain, use your heart. Be sincere. Thanks so much.
Be sincere. What does be sincere mean?
It means just use your intelligence. Okay. Be smart. So I do that to show. I like to put moral lessons in most of my skits. So at the end, think about what I just told you. So be sense.
The popular one was be body.
Yes.
Yes.
No, but this one is sense.
Yes.
Okay.
Your
But body, you can call them
sense more.
So what's next for Westy Baba?
I'm pretty excited. Lots of opportunities opening up. I'm back on radio fully. You know, I'm excited about that.
After you retired twice.
Twice.
Now you're back for the third time.
No, he didn't resign. He
retired. No, he said
yes.
retired. Yes.
Yes. This should be the stint that, you know, after this, I probably will retire permanently because I have like a 5-year plan, you know. But the station I'm with now, I joined them because I was excited about the prospects and the youthfulness, and I'm seeing that, so I think I'll be okay there for a while. But I'm doing a lot more of consultancy now. I believe in multiple streams of income. So why have all this gray matter if it's not going to bring green matter? So I've been doing some consultancy gigs and looking forward to do more. For the character Westy Baba, by the end of the year, you'll be seeing some movies in the cinema that I've been doing with some big acts, yes.
No less.
I should be shooting something with Tony Abraham. I have shot something with Tony Abraham. I'm doing another cinema movie with her maybe next month. We're shooting something next month as well. So I'm looking for those collaborations now. But as you say, I always follow the flow, as I said earlier. You know.
I'm just trying to imagine. You said we remade the other time. I'm trying to imagine a Tony Abraham and Westy Baba on set.
Oh God.
I can't.
So imagine the three of them together.
I don't even want to go there.
Collapse. Collapse.
Adeshege.
Yes, sir.
West Side.
Yes, sir.
Adeniji.
Yes, sir.
Super creative Westy Baba. Educated Omota.
Educated area boy.
Educated area boy. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me.
Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you very much.
And Westy Baba closes our show for today. Thank you very much for being with us. We'll bring you a fresh edition next week. I'm Alero Edu, wishing you a happy weekend, and see you next week.
I'm Ayamakinde. Business here. Twale.
Twale.